Broadcasting live from the gates of Istfell on the plain of Kaldheim, this is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome everybody to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Cameron.
Hello.
And Nelson.
I'm still here.
And today we are going to be talking about more Kaldheim previews. But first, a reminder that of course this show is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Do check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. Put in the /LRR on there. Lets them know that we sent you. And we continue to do that because we continue to think that Card Kingdom is great.
They're great.
And you should give them your business. And if not them, then us, because the show is also brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Kaldheim is it's shaping up to be some pretty cool stuff. I continue to maintain that this set is absolutely dense with things.
It's a January set that feels like a September set.
Yeah,
Ooh.
It is. I keep coming back to my description of it from last week of somebody's passion project D&D setting.
Yeah.
Right? This Kaldheim feels like it had origins in a 3-ring binder with lots of like maps of dungeons and just maps in general. Does everyone make D&D settings like I do? Hopefully not.
It's been a while, but yeah, like it definitely involved a 3-ring binder, or it might have even been one of those, last time I made one, it might have been one of those like paper binder things where you have the little metal clip at the back and you have to put your 3-hole punch pages in, like, you know, maybe 10 at a time, but not more than that. And then you close it and it like, then it's totally flat. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
this is before your story. I'm the oldest one here.
No.
No.
All right.
It's like a self-seating duotang.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I sometimes draw maps too. Otherwise, how can you remember where stuff is?
But this set's got everything. It's got snow and sagas and changelings and a god that turns into a boat.
It reminds me of Innistrad and how it feels like, oh, there's like a lot of layers to this set, and it's clearly been brewing at Wizards for a long time. Like, obviously, you know, like beta, we have, you know, Dwarven Warriors and Hurloon Minotaur, and it's like, there's certainly like a barbarians, you know, vibe present in the original kind of setting on Dominaria, right? Like that's part of the inspiration of high fantasy, right? It's like the Norse gods. And so wanting to give them their own set was probably kind of in the back of several people's minds for a long time. At least it seems like that from the cards we're seeing. Like there's just, so much stuff going on.
One of the first things I wanted to talk about actually was in last episode, we were noting, Cameron especially was noting the light in the sky in so many of the cards with the, I don't know why it's called this, but the sundog effect of the glinting crystalline lens flares almost. And it turns out that is not a sun or a moon.
Or a dog.
But that is Starnheim.
Yes, I saw this as well. This is the Hall of the Valkyries.
Yeah, it's the Kaldheim Valhalla, essentially. It's where you get to go if you've been a very, very good, I don't know, elf berserker, whatever your subtype.
Yeah, like apparently Kaldheim has neither sun nor moon, but the waning and waxing of Starnheim provides the day-night cycle.
That's super cool. I mean, I guess it makes sense with Kaldheim being like these 10 kingdoms all floating. They all exist around this world tree. I don't actually know the physical geography, and I don't need to. You don't have to explain everything. But yeah, I like the idea that there is, as you say, there is no sun and moon, but there is always Starnheim.
I wonder if they've managed to like communicate that clearly. Like I haven't checked. I don't even know how I would check, but it's like, should all of the light in all of the paintings for all of the cards be like a little different than other planes? And that's got to be next to impossible, I imagine, for the art team to like get across. But, you know, at least if you check, you can see like, oh, well, there's no sun. There's just Starnheim. And that's been true, right? We've noticed.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, there is no visible sun or moon on any of the cards that we've seen.
Yeah, and you would think that like it would always kind of be, I don't know, Starnheim probably doesn't get as high in the sky as the sun, right? Like, is it a plane of long shadows? Are we always in the golden hour?
Right. A good question. Yeah. No, maybe we're going to figure out an answer in my previous question. That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
Big kudos to the art team if there ends up being a clear answer to that question.
We haven't seen a specific card of Starnheim itself yet, but there is a mythic white card with Foretell called Starnheim Unleashed, because you mentioned it's where the angels are from or go, or you go there and then you become an angel. I admit I'm not totally up to speed on the mythology, but it's 2 white for a sorcery. Create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. So base level, it's a cheaper Sarah Angel. It's a Sarah Angel for 2 white, white. Okay, great. That sounds excellent. But if it was foretold, you create X of those tokens instead. So you pay your 2 to foretell it, you exile it face down. And then the foretell cost is XX white. So you pay your 2, that's your sunk cost. And then when you cast it, you get a Sarah Angel for 3, or you get 2 for 5.
Yeah.
Let me be the first to declare, entreat the Valkyries.
Yeah, entreat the Valkyries, absolutely.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
I'm sure you all thought of it first too, but here I am getting to sit on this podcast and say it.
That's the advantage.
Without having top in Legacy, are the Miracle decks still going strong? I haven't checked in on Legacy for years.
I haven't checked in actually for years now either. I'm sorry. Legacy, I really enjoyed it, but then it just is very hard to keep a scene together. And like I could only barely keep the threads of our Legacy scene kind of going. We used to have Saturday Night Legacy at YJ. And I mean, I only ever managed to afford to build one deck, which was kind of like an outlier. So I didn't have like a fully built gauntlet. We made one out of proxies, but then it was, again, a lot of work to like keep that up season after season, like keep the proxy decks going. And then also we needed like a critical number of people to play. Anyways, all this is to say, I have not played Legacy in quite a while, so I don't know. But yeah, that card did used to get played. Yeah. But speaking of cheaper Sarah Angels, there's another card that's only 4 mana that I think is very impressive. I was mentioning it on whenever last we met on a stream, I think, or in a meeting. Furia's Retribution, 1 generic, 2 white, and a black, so 4 mana total. A Saga, the first chapter is create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying vigilance, so again, a 4 mana 4/4 flying vigilance.
Not bad.
And then the second Saga is until end of turn, angels you control gain tap, destroy target creature with power less than this creature's power, so that's pretty crazy. It has a vigilance, so on the turn it can attack. The turn after this comes down, you can get in for 4, and then even before blockers, you could kill something.
Wow.
Like say that they only have 1 flying blocker, you can just kill it. It has to be less power, so it's not going to kill anything.
Also, there are more than 1 angel in the set.
Yeah.
Like there's several angels kicking around.
Yeah, and you're in white, so you could definitely just be playing cards that make your creature's power larger. You're going to have your mana back up now the turn after you've cast the Retribution. And then the third chapter is your angels gain double strike. So maybe slap some, what's that name of that really good Maul from Zendikar in there, or any other pump spell, and go to town.
Yeah, it seems powerful.
You got a 2-turn clock here somehow, baby.
I guess, is this going to be like the Benalia saga from Dominaria?
Yeah, there's a chance we'll be seeing a ton of this. It's 2 colors, which is nice. I think all these sagas we've been seeing, they're 2 colors, so they're not going to fit into everything. They're not going to be as easy to put into decks as History of Benalia or Elspeth Conquers Death. Like those 2 sagas have seen a ton of play.
But we do have a full grip of pathways now.
That's true.
So that's cool.
Yeah. Should we talk about more sagas next?
Sure, let's talk about more sagas, like the Battle for Bretagard.
Mm-hmm.
I like Selesnya. So it's 1 green white. Chapter 1, create a 1/1 white human warrior. Yeah, right. Chapter 2, create a 1/1 green elf warrior. All right. Chapter 3, choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens you control with different names, and for each of them, create a token that's a copy of it.
So you can't choose like 8 treasures because it has to be different names. It doesn't just double all your tokens.
So like it's only 3 mana. It's 3 mana and 2 colors at rare. And so it's like, and it's like you cast it and you get a 1/1. And the next turn you get another 1/1. A different 1/1, but it's like, okay, it's not super exciting. But if you've set things up correctly, then on the next turn, then you get to go off.
Yeah, no, I like this one for having the widest space. I want to say among like cards I've looked at in this set, it seems like the widest space between the floor and the ceiling.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Battle for Bretagard, tallest magic card we've seen yet.
Yeah, like if your opponent just wraths you after you sing the second verse, well, I guess you're in trouble there. But that's probably true for most things.
Yeah, I mean, even Prodigal Sorcerer, like you play this and I play Prodigal Sorcerer, and then if you don't have other tokens, it does like absolutely nothing. I can stone blanket. But if you come down and you've already played like, I don't know, a Wormcoil Engine that died, say, or like one of those dragons that makes tokens, or even just Armada Worm shenanigans, then suddenly your 3 mana could be any number of power and toughness.
Now, obviously, to my dismay, this next saga is green and blue, meaning that I could not play it in, say, an Ayula commander deck. It's the Bears of, I want to say, Lityara?
Oh, I can't wait for all the players and their pronunciations of these words. Yeah, look, I'm happy to join the ranks of people that don't know how to say any of the names of the cards.
I don't know if it's a hard J.
I'm assuming kind of like, let's assume it's like the pronunciation of Mjolnir, Master Chief's armor from Halo.
Ah, yes, Mjolnir. Okay, Mjolnir
armor.
We couldn't just go with fjord, which is like also an English word that we just stole. Hey,
Fjord.
Yeah,
No, we can go with the one that Bungie made up.
Perfect.
So it's 1 green blue for a saga. And the first one is you get a 2/2 blue shapeshifter with changeling, because it's a shapeshifter and they all have changeling. So you get a 2/2. All right. Next turn, any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control, if you manage to get others somehow, have base power and toughness 4/4. Doesn't say end of turn. It's just they level up. That is
Okay.
unusual templating, but I'm here for it.
Judges hate it.
Yeah. Then on your next turn, choose up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Each creature you control with power 4 or greater deals damage equal to its power to that permanent.
I like the style of this card.
Yeah, because you don't even need to... It doesn't need to be that shapeshifter. It doesn't specify shapeshifters. It's just any 4-power creatures. So if you've got 3 4-power creatures, you could deal 4 damage to 3 things or 12 damage to 1 thing, or split it up however you want. You get to throw around a bunch of damage.
Yeah, you probably get to, bear punch something until it's gone. Tragically, this card doesn't interact with Mutavault in the way that you might like. You can make a Mutavault a creature in response to the bear's second chapter, but then the next time you activate it, it's going to become a 2/2 again.
Oh,
Right, because its activated ability is be a 2/2. Right.
But yeah, cool card.
What do you think about George R.R. Martin's Battle of Frost and Fire?
I wanted to talk about that one next, yeah.
Yeah, 3 blue-red. Chapter 1 deals 4 damage to each non-giant creature and each planeswalker. So I hope you've got some giants or some big creatures. Chapter 2, a relatively restrained Scry 3. Chapter 3, whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater this turn, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. This one I feel has the power up front.
Yeah, we're playing this mostly for its first chapter, which is a sign of a really strong saga.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of characteristic of Elspeth Conquer's death as well, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure.
you blast something and then you get on with the story. But the first chapter was really exciting. This, though, I really kind of like... I mean, you made the comparison to Game of Thrones, and I feel that this follows the same dramatic kind of arc of many of their seasons, where you open strong, and then you have like a little bit of like pieces moving around on a chessboard, and then something just completely like GIF-worthy happens in the last episode or two, right?
That third chapter could definitely be a Red Wedding, or
Yeah, like a Battle of the Bastards.
yeah, or the Battle of the Eastguard or whatever, or Battle for Castle Black or something like that. Yeah, there's some wild turns you can have with that triggered ability. I like it.
I'd also like to just talk about Carter's Vicious Return, which is the Rakdos saga for 2 black-red. Chapter 1 reads, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, Carter's Vicious Return deals 3 damage to any target. So you can see why I'm kind of interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 2, each player discards a card. Chapter 3, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. It gains haste until your next turn. So, like, this, at Uncommon, this feels about right. This is not, like, a super powerhouse, but it makes me happy because it points to the presence of my favorite creature synergy archetype in Magic, the Aristocrats.
Yeah.
This card definitely looks strong. I like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to enjoy playing this. This feels like a very good signpost Uncommon for limited players, right? I would first pick this and then build around it.
I'd just like to talk about one more. Also a Red Saga, just spoiled recently at time of recording anyway by Deathsea, or previewed, should I say previewed. Arnie slays the troll. Now, there's a couple reasons I like it. The first one is the name. I grew up on these Arnold Schwarzenegger movies as a kid. That's where I got my toxic masculinity. It's like that's where I learned all of the things that we all have to try and unlearn, along with lots of other good things. But anyways, Arnie slays the troll. Pretty great shout out there. Only 1 green and 1 red, 2 mana saga. Target creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. It's first chapter, so this is only 1 more mana for a Prey Upon. And then in the second chapter, we're getting a red mana back, so it's like Prey Upon again. It's free. You get a red mana and then put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature you control. That's a lot of power and toughness out of a support spell. Those are counters. They stick around. Yeah. And then the third one is you gain life equal to greatest power among creatures you control. So definitely out with a whimper there. And most of the power is up front here. We're going to remove your creature. Then we're going to make our creature bigger. I mean, I like that it ramps us and makes our creature bigger in the second saga. Like if you're in a creature versus creature match, you play Arnie, then, you get to remove their piece. And that's really important. Then you make your piece bigger. In a creature versus creature match, they probably have a removal spell in response to your +2 and 2 +1/+1 counters. So don't expect to always get there on that one. And then the life gain might not matter no matter what. But I like that it's like the first saga matters for the matches where you're up against the other decks with cheap spells. And then the second saga is like, okay, if you're up against blue-white control, it's like, well, I'm going to make my mana dork a problem. So you have to answer that one too.
And you get to deliver a sick one-liner when you flop this.
Exactly.
Right? Like you play Arnie slays the troll and then say, your luggage. right? As you just blow away like a crocodile. And tailor to whatever's being killed, right? I mean, like, show a little creativity here, people.
Yeah, maybe they pump in response and you're like, oh, it wasn't a tumor. And no matter what, after the third chapter, you just get to run with, I'll be back. All you have to do is play another one.
We here at Tap Tap Concede salute whoever named Arnie slays the troll.
You think this is the real Cinderheart giant? It is.
Ooh, the niche Total Recall. Very nice.
For some reason, you think this is the real Quaid. Extended pause. It is. Came up a lot in like years ago among folks I was hanging out with. Of all the Arnold Schwarzenegger lines to quote.
That's funny. The one that lives for free in my mind from Total Recall is, and I always think it's Welcome to the Party, Richter. But it's, I tried to Google it the other day and it's See You at the Party, Richter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's one of those Luke, I am your father moments.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
What's the one where he tears off Michael Ironside's arms in Total Recall?
What does he say then? I don't remember. Sorry.
It's going to bother me.
Total Recall?
Yeah, Total Recall rewatch?
We watch Weta? Yeah.
Yeah, this is now, we're just going to put on Total Recall right now.
Yeah.
If you, sync at, start the awesome Basil Polidorus soundtrack at the sound of the clap.
I Googled Total Recall quotes and I can't find it.
Oh, no.
I also had a frustrating time Googling Total Recall quotes recently. The top pick for Total Recall quotes was not like a super useful page. But yeah, in all seriousness, I'd rewatch Total Recall. I also would like to talk about these incredible into play tapped, tap for a color, don't have land types lands. They come into play tapped and they don't have land types and they don't have more than one different color, but they do all cast awesome spells. Like, they're all like 5 or 6 mana. Are they all 5 mana?
I think so. And I think they all follow the same sort of pattern of mana.
Right. 2 of the off color, right?
Yeah. So we were broadcasting this week from Gates of Istfell, which enters tapped and taps for a white. And for 2 and a white and a blue, and tap and sacrifice it, you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards.
Yeah, like these are, and then that's very good, obviously. The red one, Not Vold Slumber Mound. Oh man, I'm not going to get tired of saying that. Not Vold Slumber Mound. Not Vold Slumber Mound again. Into play tapped and it taps for a red. Pay 3 generic. Oh, sorry, this one's more expensive actually. They did play with it a bit. Most of them are 5. This one is 6. And it's also tap it. So you got to remember that the 5 is really like 6 lands. This one's 7 lands, but you pay 3 generic, a red and 2 green, sacrifice it and destroy target land, and also create a 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. The black one shrinks a creature and makes 2 1/1s. Or sorry, that's the green one. It's green black, but it taps for a green. And then there's 2, I guess, for each color, right?
There's 2 for each color.
Right. So the Golgari one, I guess, yeah. The Boros one goes and finds an aura or an equipment and puts it in your hand. That one's actually only 4. So they're mostly 5, but it looks like they tweaked them slightly. And then I'm not sure what the Izzet one has also been previewed.
Yeah, it's Scries 2 and Pyroclasms.
Excuse me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're all like very good, things to do if you're flooded, which is a great, thing for the designers to always be working on. And it has been a big project in Magic. It's neat. You can sort of look through the years and it's like, well, sometimes I draw too few lands and sometimes I draw too many lands. And it's still a problem today. And the designers are always working. It's not evident in every single set, but oftentimes you see, like cycling and creature lands, and kicker is even one. Like, if you have the mana to pay the kicker, then you get 2 spells out of this card instead of just 1. And yeah, the cycle of spell lands, I think, is a great additional chapter to the book of how to deal with being flooded.
I feel that they've also learned the lesson of the desert, the red desert, Ramanap ruins, in that that Surtland Frostfire can't go to the dome.
Right.
Smart. Speaking of the Boros Auras and Equipment deck, I just want to talk about this card I just saw in the spoiler page that I hadn't seen prior to just now. Reckless Crew.
Oh yeah, that card looks sweet.
3 and a red for a sorcery. Create X 2/1 red dwarf berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of vehicles you control plus the number of equipment you control. And for each of those tokens, you may attach equipment you control to it. So
yeah. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's kind of a cool thing. Yeah,
they don't get haste, which is probably a good thing, but you can just be like, I play this equipment, I play this equipment, I play this vehicle, I play this vehicle. Now I get 4 2/1s, and these ones get to hold this equipment, and then this one can crew this vehicle. The vehicle can attack you right away. It's just sort of like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, I definitely think like they work better next to the vehicles because the vehicles have haste.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you can also attach equipment to them and then, like, punch above their weight for crewing vehicles. Like, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
the axe is on the helm, right?
Speaking of vehicles, there's two that I'd like to talk about briefly. One that I teased earlier. So the first one, Funeral Longboat. What do we make of this? It's common, it's 2 mana, it's a 3/3 with vigilance, and the crew is only 1.
It seems appropriate.
I don't think they're going to ban it from standard.
Yeah.
But it seems just like reliable.
Yeah.
I like it, right? Like I don't mind swinging on turn 3 with this.
Yeah. I think without any evasion, I'm vaguely hopeful that this card could get reprinted in future sets and be a good like benchmark vehicle. The crew is as cheap as can be. The mana cost is about as cheap as can be. The body is okay. It's going to be relevant in the early game, really relevant probably. And then in the mid game, it might slow down in relevance a little bit. And then it's got an ability that's nice.
Yeah, like I feel vigilance is an undervalued keyword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's neat building limited strategies that sort of rely on vigilance, right?
Yeah, I feel that at some point this card may have had some kind of clause like Vodalian War Machine from Fallen Empires, right? Where it's like if Funeral Longboat is destroyed, anything crewing it is destroyed. Maybe it was cheaper. But yeah, like, no, I like it. I agree with Nelson that this feels like a good benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
And like from what play I did in Kaladesh Remastered, Skyskiff was good, and I won many games with Skyskiff, and Skyskiff is kind of comparable. It has 1 less power but does have flying and only crews 1, so it's still 2 mana, crew 1 less power, but it has that all important evasion. And Skyskiff wasn't always a game breaker in that format. There's plenty of answers to it, and the race wasn't really quick or anything. It didn't feel like Copter when you had Skyskiff, right? It's like 1 less power to begin with. And then also you can't just always dig into your removal spells for your opponent's flyers. And this is like, yeah, I mean, they'll always be able to block it if they have a creature. So it's not usually going to be game breaking, but just solid. Looks fine.
The other vehicle I wanted to talk about, I mentioned at the top of the show, is the god that turns into a boat. Mm-hmm. So Cosima, God of the Voyage, is 2 and a blue for a 2/4 god. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it and draw X cards, where X is the number of voyage counters on it. So you can play it as a 2/4 for 3. Then on your next upkeep, send it away. And then the longer it stays on its voyage, the more bounty it will eventually return with.
Like, I love this. I don't know if it's good. It feels good.
It's so weird, but I love it.
It's like a weirdo card, and I love it. I kind of really enjoy what they've done with blue here, where instead of trying to force an idea of, like, high fantasy scholarship onto a Viking setting, they have found the expression of like curiosity and intellectualism in the Viking setting instead, and that manifests as like exploration and challenging the gods, basically. I don't know, I just like that a lot.
It has so many words on it, and the ability is so unique. It feels like an Ice Age card.
Valid.
There's a lot of, snow is the obvious one, but I think there's a lot of interesting parallels to sort of the feel of Ice Age anyway. It's thankfully not cumulative upkeep.
There's separate distinct tribes too. Yeah.
Yeah. But the vehicle aspect, yes, it's a modal double face card. And on the back of Cosima, the other option is the Omen Keel, which is just a great name. It's 1 and a blue for a 3/3 vehicle that also crews for 1. So, 2 mana for a 3/3 with crew 1, just like the Longboat.
Just another Longboat.
But this says, whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled.
Yeah.
So it's cool that it has a synergy with the front side too. Also, this is a weird, milling you and casting your spells ability that we haven't seen before, where you only get to play the lands. Oftentimes you can't play the lands, or you can play whatever you want. And every now and then you're like, actually, you have to have the mana to cast the spells you exile too. It doesn't even fix your mana, which normally is how we see it now. But this one just lets you only play the lands, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it's a weird distinction too, that it's not when this deals damage. It can be other things, but those other things must be vehicles. And if 2 vehicles hit in the same turn, then that ability will happen twice.
And it's that many cards. It's equal to the damage too. Like each point of damage is milling them.
I want to see a mill strategy built around hitting them with vehicles, even though you'd probably kill them with damage first.
I mean, we might just see at least 1 or 2 of these in the blue-black rogue deck, which is already a real thing in standard. And kind of a thing in historic too, actually. That card from Throne of Eldraine, that counts how many cards are in the opponent's library and then can like kill or counter a spell equal or less than that on the lock, along with the rogues that care about milling from Zendikar, has been proven a real player in Standard. That's a real deck. So this card helps to mill, so it might do that. Or on the other side, it could maybe be like a rebuild, like a big draw spell. So maybe some people will try this out. I cannot tell at all whether this card is like a competitive constructed card.
Well, like it's quite interesting, right? Because Cosima can't be interacted with while they're on their voyage, right? Like they're pretty unassailable out there. So I really like it as kind of a backstop and a rebuild card.
Yeah.
I don't know, unless for some reason you sent an Eldrazi to eat them. I guess that would work.
I guess it could also be, Cosima could be really strong in like a big Simic ramp strategy, which is often a real deck too. Because if you can just get more and more lands into play, then you can kind of go off with this trigger, right? I feel like I need to read this card like 3 more times before I even really get what it does.
Like, how many lands do you need to play to feel good about bringing Cosima back from their voyage, right? Do you just like slam, or, you know, on turn 4 you play this, then slam a land, right? Or no, it's at the beginning of your upkeep.
Yeah, okay. First you have to untap with it.
Right.
Also, yeah, on the art, on the front side, is the god the... Oh, okay, all right. In one of the pictures, there's only... By the way, get the showcase frame of this you can. It's way prettier. In the regular, though, there's just one figure. But in the showcase, I'm like, is Cosima the person in the boat, or are they the turtle or the dolphin or whatever that is?
The dolphin, yeah.
It's a weird name for a dolphin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe that's a totally normal weird name, or totally normal dolphin name. Yeah. I also want to talk about the name, actually. So we saw a Phyrexian Praetor has like randomly come to this set, and I don't know all the lore there, like what their deal is, but Kosi is the name that the merfolk gave to Kozilek on Zendikar, and this person's name is Cosima, so I don't know, maybe there's a connection there, maybe not.
You're about to bust this whole thing wide open.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, Inspector Nelson's here, getting ready to solve the case. Let me just search the clue token in this room and find out where the Eldrazi horror is hiding.
I want to talk about one card because I'm curious what you both make of it. Also because I think that it looks like it's from a completely different set, partly because of just its creature type and partly because of the great art by Wayne Reynolds, but it just kind of makes it look like it's from a different Magic set. So it's Scorn Effigy, and it's a Scarecrow. So, you know, all those people out there with Scarecrow tribal commander decks, all 12 of you.
I mentioned the Lorwyn connection last week. Yeah, it
does look a little bit like a Lorwyn thing, but it also reminds me of, like, I don't know, like Mirrodin, like older Mirrodin. I don't know. It's, again, I think it's mostly the Wayne Reynolds art. So it's a 3-mana 2/3 artifact creature, right? Like that's it. It's not super exciting, but it has Foretell. So you can pay 2 and exile it face down and then cast it later for its Foretell cost. And its Foretell cost is 0.
I wonder if this limited environment's going to let us play 1 or 2 fewer lands than normal. Maybe just 1 fewer. If you have like a certain number of Foretell cards, you might be able to do that, especially ones like this, like any 2 mana to pay the Foretell and then 0 more. But yeah, definitely this card, you know, poster child for your curve is going to be okay, buddy. You know, like we got this draft deck. It has a plan. We're gonna put some creatures into play. We're gonna attack our opponent. Speaking of cheating on mana, can we briefly talk about, I'm not sure if we have a real name for it yet, but the Scryfall name is Writing Werewolf Fanfics. It's 2 green for an enchantment, green, and it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't scry 1, I actually don't know what the word other means here. I'm guessing it means other than this enchantment, not other than the card in question, because that's a spell, not a permanent you control. Right. So you do need to have another permanent in play. It can't count itself. I believe that's what it means. Yeah.
Right. So it can't count itself. So you can't, oh, darn. Because when I first read this card, what I wanted to do, what I assumed you could do, is on turn 2, you play this. And then on turn 3, you can just play a 3-drop for free because this is a permanent and it's CMC 2 and then it's 2+1 and, you know, you get to do that. But it's other permanents, so you don't get to do that.
But you do get at least a 1-drop for free because it doesn't say non-land permanent. So you'll have a land in play.
Oh, okay.
So you get to put a 1-drop into play if you have a 1-drop that you haven't played yet on turn 3, right? I mean, turn 1, maybe you had a tap land, and then turn 2, you decide to go with this. So,
and worst case, you get to scry at least.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's an enchantment, and there's still the Theros block in Standard, so like it's gonna...
Yeah, you're probably like drawing a card off of this, right?
Maybe, yeah, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's busted. Like it looks a little bit like Fires of Invention, right? Like gives you the free spells.
Yeah.
The free spells, the busted. We got to ban them in standard.
Is this kind of like pod or
other thing that wasn't pod? Yeah.
Yeah, the normal way of doing this, you sacrifice a creature and get a bigger one.
Yeah, birthing pod.
Birthing pod. But there's another one.
There's Prime Speaker Vanifar.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I really like this. I think this is interesting, especially because the art has our squirrel friend on it.
Oh, yeah. And a bunch of like big ribbons. Wait, are those ribbons all just the squirrel's tail?
They are.
Yes.
Wow.
Is this that specific squirrel, or is this just what Kaldheim squirrels look like?
I hope that's not too much a pain to wash. Like you have a bath, you get your fur clean, you get all your whiskers clean, and then you've got this big long ribbon. And once it gets wet, it's just so heavy.
Mm-hmm. And things can like catch it, and Toski's just constantly getting like eaten by owls because their tail is sticking out.
Yeah, like it gets wrapped around stuff and takes forever to untangle. You need to enlist the help of a big gray wolf just to pull your tail out of a big oak knot or something.
I assume Toski is basically like the narrator of the plane, right? Like that's what I'm getting from this.
Absolutely.
Right? Kind of like a Nicodemus from Secrets of Nim.
Yeah, absolutely. Not crucial to the story, but there, and letting you know what's happening. I also just wanted to briefly mention that, hey, if you got to play Omniscience Draft or Ravnica Allegiance Draft this week, I hope you had fun. I did. If you haven't tried Omniscience Draft on Arena, be sure to check it out next time you get there. It's the best way to let your gems on fire.
It's definitely, it's if you win the flip, you have a much better shot at winning. Okay, very quick pro tip for Omniscience Draft. Take bombs and cards that draw cards. That's all you need.
I don't even recommend taking bombs.
No?
Just take cards with 4 power or more so that your Garruk's Uprising works. It's going to be a different set next time we do Omniscience Draft, but this one was particularly degen. At common, you have a draw 3. So there's just a lot of turn 1 wins. Because at uncommon, you had a draw 2, they discard 2, which is just like the best card ever invented for Omniscience Draft.
Omniscience Draft Ikoria was pretty wild with Boon of the Wish Giver.
Oh, nice. I missed that one, or maybe only got one game in or something. Yeah, that's pretty nuts too. That's
going to do it for talking about Kaldheim this week, because we need to go and prepare to play Kaldheim this week. This coming Friday, is the Kaldheim pre-release live on twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. And on this very YouTube channel as soon as we can after the fact, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version, hi, we also like you. And you should go watch the PPR on one of those 2 platforms I just mentioned. It's going to be great. We're doing a whole sealed event. We've got a lot of fun video content planned, and it should be a fun day. We are really looking forward to getting our hands on playing these cards. Obviously, it's all still mono loading ready run at this time, but we're going to be trying a throwback to one of the earliest PPRs in that we're doing a tournament bracket, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It's only going to be awkward if Kathleen and I make it to the finals, because we're playing at the same desk. So we'll figure that out.
Insert rude joke about you don't have to worry about that, Graham.
Exactly. Yeah. No, Kathleen will be fine on her own making it to the finals without me. But that's going to do it for this week on Tap Tap Concede. Until next time, please remember to check out Card Kingdom at cardkingdom.com/LRR or patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you always so much. Until next time, I've been Graham. Joining me has been Cameron.
Goodbye.
And Nelson.
Thanks for listening. Happy Kaldheim preview season.
James was running the card reader. Jordan edits these. Heather does podcast admin. And we will talk to you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.